gentleman. I think he actually, I think he was the economist, right?
Thanks for showing up here tonight. We appreciate what you have to say. I want you to just sort of flash forward because you're talking about the future a lot. It's February of 2021. You are president.
Thank you, New Hampshire.
Now that's when the hard work begins.
I agree.
I am a very firm believer in what Paul Wellstone said, which is politics is the business of making people's lives better. The model we're currently following is that we think that corporate America is going to solve those problems. We think that the wealthy are going to solve those problems with trickle-down economics. We've been doing that since Reagan. How do you reach out as president to the people that have been most disaffected, the ones that are hurting the most and the ones that were the Trump voters? How do you reach out to them in these so-called flyover states and find a way to get them re-engaged in politics beyond a sort of soundbite stage in a jingoistic manner? How do we re-engage those people in becoming productive, thoughtful citizens that help shape the path moving forward?
What an incredible question. I'm very proud of the fact that this is already happening. Where there's a poll in New Hampshire that said that I was one of only 2 candidates that 10% or more of Donald Trump voters would support in the general election over Donald Trump. Because I'm talking about the same problems that they see around them and solutions that they can understand. Some of them said to me that they voted for Donald Trump hoping that he was going to do some of the things I'm describing. This also, not coincidentally, makes me the best candidate to take on and beat Donald Trump in the general election. What's the number one criteria that Democratic primary voters have for the nominee? Beat Donald Trump. And I am the lone candidate that is already drawing in thousands and thousands of disaffected Trump voters, as well as independents and libertarians, and Democrats and progressives. I can build a much broader coalition to take on Donald Trump and beat him because I'm talking about the very problems that got him elected. Now, you're 100% right that the hard work begins when you actually have to govern and solve the problems. So I want you all to visualize this with me, because I've done it very, very often. Andrew Yang sweeps into the White House, 2021 Inauguration Day. Everyone's like, wow, we're doing this thing. This is happening. Democrats and progressives are thrilled to have beaten Donald Trump. That's like their big hope, their big goal. And they will be thrilled, you will be thrilled, to put money into the hands of families and make people stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, more productive. But if you look at the Republicans in Congress, they're going to look at this and say, wait a minute, am I against the dividend? Who are the big winners of the dividend? Red states that have lost a lot of these manufacturing jobs, rural areas, and cash is very, very hard to argue against. Mitch McConnell can't be like, this cash is going to hurt you. It's a very difficult argument. And he'll make it. But I want you to imagine his phone lines and his office when he's making that. I'm standing in front of his office being like, Mitch is standing between you and the dividend. The fact is conservatives don't dislike money in people's hands and economic freedom on the part of Americans. Conservatives dislike a giant bureaucracy making everyone's decisions for them. Alaska, the only state that's had a dividend for almost 40 years, a deep red conservative state, and it was passed by a Republican governor. And I don't need 80% of Congress to make this happen. I just need a majority. So I can peel off enough Republicans so they say, look, this is not partisan, this is the dividend. I like the dividend. And Republicans sense that I'm not particularly ideological and I'll work with anybody. My administration will reflect that. As long as you're bent on improving the lives of the American people and you're a team player, we'll bring you in. I think good ideas are independent of your party affiliation.
Answer the anger question, the question where people are, they're not persuaded by fact anymore. They're not persuaded by realities anymore. How do we re-engage with those people?
I'm thrilled to say, I just came from a town hall in Keene. How many of you were at the town hall in Keene? A couple of you. The last 3 people I talked to in Keene before I came here said that they voted for Donald Trump. And they now see that he did not work out the way they hoped, and they're supporting me. So the anger you're talking about is real, and I believe I'm actually tapping into a productive way forward for people who feel that anger, because I'm explaining the source of that anger. And one thing that a friend of mine told me, whose mom is an avid Fox watcher, she said, Gang is the only Democrat that I will support because he's the only one I do not feel is judging me. And that is one of the ways we tamp down. And that is one of the ways we tamp down the anger, because I have no judgment for the suffering that caused the problems. All I want to do is help move us forward.
Yummy, 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 yummy.